Welcome to your deep dive. Today we're looking at something pretty practical, actually. How to handle life's frustrations, the everyday stuff, with a different lens.
That's right. We're pulling from William B. Irvine's work, The Stoic Challenge. And what the sources really suggest is this kind of modern take on old Stoic ideas.
Right, specifically for navigating those obstacles that pop up all the time.
Exactly. And the central idea really is about reframing setbacks. Things from, tiny annoyances right up to bigger challenges.
So not seeing them as just stress inducers.
Precisely. More like opportunities, chances to grow, build resilience. Think of it like mental training.
Okay, mental training. I like that. So let's dig into this framework. The main concept, the one that kind of jumped out at me, was seeing obstacles as tests.
Yeah, tests. And it's almost helpful to imagine like this imaginary Stoic Test Administrator dishing them out.
Huh, okay. A test administrator. And what sort of tests are we talking about?
Well, the sources give really relatable examples. It's the mundane things, mostly. Losing your keys right when you need to leave.
Oh, yeah. Happens all the time.
Or someone says something rude, or you just, spill your coffee first thing in the morning.
Right. Those moments that can just ruin your mood.
Within this framework, though, they become these little practice sessions, opportunities to work on your inner strength.
And the key thing isn't to just react, right? Not to complain or get mad, which, let's be honest, is often the default.
That's the challenge. It's about consciously using that moment, pausing, building resilience, maybe some patience, getting perspective.
It's a definite shift from just like flying off the handle.
Yeah. And it's important to be clear. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist or trying to avoid them altogether. That's not life.
No, definitely not realistic.
The real power, it seems, is in changing our internal response. What happens inside us when that external thing occurs.
Okay, that makes sense. There's a story in the source material that illustrates this really well, I thought. Irvine missing a flight.
Yes, the missed flight. That's such a classic stress trigger for almost anyone.
Totally. But his reaction was different.
Right. What's interesting is the deliberate choice he made. Instead of that, immediate anger and frustration kicking in.
He paused.
He paused. It seems like that image, the Stoic Test Administrator, might have popped into his head. And he consciously decided, okay, how can I use this time? He chose to write.
Wow. So redirecting the energy.
Exactly. It shows the power of that little gap, that pause between the event and the reaction.
And the result was completely different. Instead of stewing in negativity,
He turned it into productive solitude, focused work time.
it really makes you think, doesn't it? How many times have we let situations like that just completely derail us with negative emotion?
And if you think about your own day-to-day, imagine applying that kind of pause more often.
Yeah, instead of being constantly knocked off balance by like minor stuff.
You start seeing them as chances to practice a more measured response. You get a bit of your agency back in those moments,
Okay, so that's the test framework. Now, there was another concept that initially sounded a bit odd to me, negative visualization.
Ah, yes. It does sound pessimistic at first glance, doesn't it? Why dwell on bad things?
Right. Seems like it would just make you feel worse.
Well, it's counterintuitive, but the purpose isn't pessimism. It's actually aimed at cultivating gratitude and preparing yourself mentally.
Gratitude. How does thinking about bad things lead to gratitude?
Because you intentionally consider losing things you value. The sources mention things like, imagine losing your phone or your job or even your ability to walk.
Whoa, okay. Those are pretty heavy.
They are. But contemplating them, even briefly, can really highlight how much you have right now. It makes you appreciate the things you usually just take for granted.
I see. So it throws the smaller, everyday frustrations into a different light.
Exactly. Psychologically, what seems to happen is you develop a deeper appreciation. And then, when that smaller stuff happens, the burnt toast, the traffic jam, it just doesn't hit as hard.
Because you've mentally put it in perspective against potentially bigger losses.
Precisely. It's a grounding practice. It kind of recalibrates your sense of what's a big deal and what isn't, leads to a more sort of stable perspective, less easily shaken.
That connects really well to the next point, the difference between reacting and responding.
Absolutely. That's a key distinction in this approach.
Yeah.
Reacting is often that immediate gut-level emotional surge.
Sometimes leading to things you regret saying or doing.
Right. Responding, on the other hand, involves that moment of awareness we talked about, that pause. It's a conscious choice about how you engage.
Like inserting a little buffer zone.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. A space between the trigger and what you do next.
The example used, getting cut off in traffic, is perfect. Everyone relates to that. The reaction is often, well, not pretty.
Horn honking, anger, maybe worse. The Stoic response, though, would be different.
How so?
It might be just calm acceptance, recognizing you can't control the other driver, letting it go, detaching your emotional state from their action.
Okay, but isn't that hard, letting it go?
It takes practice, for sure, but the benefit is protecting your own inner peace.
Yeah.
You're choosing not to let external events hijack your emotions.
So you're building character, in a way, by choosing the response.
You could say that. You're strengthening self-control. The focus shifts. Instead of trying to control the uncontrollable outside world, you focus on managing your internal world, your reactions, your thoughts.
So just to clarify, this isn't about becoming a robot, right? Not suppressing feelings.
No, definitely not. That's a common misconception about Stoicism. It sounds more like developing a greater awareness of your emotions.
And then choosing.
Exactly. You feel the anger or frustration, but you recognize it, and then you consciously choose how you want to proceed. That space between stimulus and response, that's where your freedom lies.
That makes more sense. It's skillful navigation, not suppression. Now, this idea of micro-practice, that really clicked for me. Because you don't just suddenly become resilient in a crisis.
No, absolutely not. You build up to it. And that's why paying attention to the small stuff is so valuable. They are your training ground.
Like the burnt toast example again.
Yeah.
Or someone bumping into you.
Yes. Or, a video call dropping mid-sentence. Annoying, sure. But also
A test?
a mini test. A small-scale opportunity to practice that pause, that chosen response, instead of just instant irritation.
So these little daily hassles become like repped at the emotional gym.
That's a great way to put it. Resilience isn't something you just have or don't have. It's like a muscle. It strengthens with consistent practice.
And the practice comes from these minor challenges.
Every time you consciously choose a calm, thoughtful response to one of those little frustrations, you're doing a rep. You're building that resilience muscle.
Okay. So if we were to kind of pull this all together, what are the main takeaways someone listening could really, chew on?
Well, I think there are a few key things. First, really try that reframing. When something frustrating happens, try thinking, okay, this is a test. See it as a chance to practice, not just a reason to get upset.
Right. Test, not tragedy.
Second, maybe experiment with that negative visualization. Just briefly consider things you value. Imagine not having them. It sounds grim, but it can genuinely boost gratitude and make small stuff seem smaller.
Build appreciation and perspective.
Third, focus on responding, not just reacting. Create that little space. Choose your response deliberately. Focus on your internal state, which you can influence, rather than external events you often can't.
Okay. Reframe, visualize, respond.
And finally, practice. Use those small, everyday moments, the dropped keys, the slow internet, whatever it is. Those are your chances to build the skill. Don't wait for a crisis.
And remembering, it's not about not feeling things.
Absolutely crucial. It's not emotional suppression. It's maybe emotional preparedness. Developing awareness and skill in how you handle what you feel. So you're not just constantly knocked over by life.
Less reactive, more grounded.
That's the goal, I think, to build that inner resilience, that stability, so the ups and downs don't throw you off balance quite so easily.
Okay. So maybe you challenge them for everyone listening this week.
Yeah.
When you hit one of those frustrating moments, big or small, doesn't matter. Try it. Pause. Yeah. Maybe even crack a tiny smile and just like, okay, test time.
And just notice. Notice if seeing it that way as a challenge to navigate rather than just an annoyance changes anything about how you feel or react in that moment.
Yeah, see how that shift feels. And if this resonates, definitely explore Stoic philosophy more. There's a lot of practical wisdom there for building this kind of strength.
Absolutely. And just consider, finally, how powerful it feels. That ability to stay calm, stay thoughtful, keep your head when things go sideways. That's a really liberating skill to cultivate, especially, today.